Children's Missionary Library, Hudson Taylor of the China Inland Mission, pages 5 to 11. A thrilling story. One afternoon, an English lad named James Hudson Taylor wandered into the library of his Yorkshire home. Being a lively boy, his eye sought a book with a throbbing title. After searching among the books for a few minutes, he came across a gospel tract. These little tracts sometimes have stories at the beginning, he told himself. I'll just read part of the story and skip the sermon part. Almost without realizing it, he finished the story and kept on reading. With mounting interest, he settles himself to read the gospel message. What an exciting story it was, he admitted. Why, the man of Galilee had willingly laid down his life so an entire world might have everlasting life. Conviction gripped his soul, and Hudson accepted Jesus as his Saviour. A strange thought entered his mind. Here was a story that everyone in the world should know, and this meant that someone had to tell them. Hudson Taylor knew that there were faraway places all over the world where the people had never read the Bible. Now that he was a Christian, wasn't it up to him to tell the story? It seemed likely. He then began to wonder where he should go. To what part of the globe should he take the gospel? The answer. To what country should he go as a missionary? To Arabia, that rugged land of fiery deserts and fast-riding horsemen? To India, or to Africa, or perhaps to some lonely island of the South Seas? Young Hudson did not wander for long, for he soon came across a book entitled China. His heart began to thump madly. What thrilling stories he had read about this mysterious land on the other side of the globe. This was the empire of peculiar temples and idols dedicated to the false teachings of Buddha. He knew that China's desperate millions needed the gospel. Poor, neglected China, he told his sister. Scarcely anyone cares about it. But did God want him to go to China? He earnestly prayed about it. Before long, the answer came clearly to the young Christian. Then go for me to China. He would prepare now. Securing a Gospel of Luke in Chinese, he set it alongside his English Bible. By carefully comparing English with Chinese, he was soon able to read simple sentences. He also studied medicine, knowing that he must be a doctor as well as a missionary to the Chinese people. That land is ever in my thoughts, he told his sister, as he made himself ready for the Orient. The wind is coming. Hudson finally caught the ship, Dumfries, bound for Shanghai. Like most voyages of the day, it was a perilous one of squalls and battering seas. A strange and wonderful incident occurred while they were off the coast of New Guinea. The Dumfries suddenly found itself without winds in its sails, helplessly drifting towards the rocks of the nearby shore. The captain gloomily turned to Hudson and spoke. Well, we have done everything that we can be done. We can only await the result. No, there was one thing we have not done yet, Taylor cheerfully replied. What is that? Asked the captain. 4 of us on board are Christians, replied the young missionary. Let us each retire to his cabin and in agreed prayer ask the Lord to give us immediately a breeze. As the captain nodded, Hudson withdrew and prayed for a wind. He then asked the sceptical first mate to let down the sail, and to the amazement of everyone but the 4 Christians, the sail began to tremble before a swelling breeze. The wind is coming, the happy first mate shouted, and minutes later the Dumfries once more began to nudge its way along the China coast. A warm welcome. No sooner had Hudson stepped off the boat than he found himself caught in the midst of Chinese wars. It seemed as if he had landed on an unsettled land. Shaking beneath his feet, so fierce was the fighting in Shanghai that his life was threatened several times within the first few days. Deep-throated cannons rocked the city all day long, while angry bullets shattered windows of the mission itself. "We walked some distance around the wall," he wrote, "and sad it was to see the wreck of rows upon rows of houses near the city. Burnt down, blown down, battered to pieces, in all stages of ruin they were. A fainter heart than Hudson's might have been tempted to take the first ship back to England, but he knew that God wanted him here. There would be no retreating for this warrior. Arming himself with books and tracts, he boldly marched through Shanghai, and since there was fighting to be done, he would get into it. After all, he was a soldier of the cross. Knowing that his life was always in danger, he wrote, 'If you hear of my being killed or injured, do not think it a pity that I came, but thank God I was permitted to distribute some scriptures and tracts for him who died for me.'